Hey, today Gunvolt is coming out, so I'll be playing that later today. It may not be right at launch because I have to do my kitty sitting job, but I spent a little time with the cheat engine and I actually made some good accessories. Now, what's weird about this game, I actually read a very good post on GameFAQs from just some random person a couple days ago, and he actually mentioned like all the flaws with this game. Like, basically, the main flaw with this game is that it's a massive grind for like no payoff. Meaning, like by the time you actually get everything, you still can't really take out like the hardest content in the game solo without pretty much using the gladiator and the solo thing, and that takes a ton of grinding as well. So I went ahead and figured, why don't I make some uber ace of spoils? So I basically just used cheat engine and I just rolled a bunch of them, and then I found ones that were good. Now, I was hoping to put multiple of these on one character, but because this game does literally everything in its power to make you not feel strong, you can only equip one, so I put this one on, which gives him 25% ability damage, and then he has 25% crit damage, and his attack increases are boosted by 50%, so all that actually makes the bosses go down quite quickly. Let's see if I can give her some. I made a couple. Chance of no MP cost is pretty good. The gear in this game is also very, very uninteresting. There's not really a whole lot of cool things that you can really put on your character. For the most part, it's just like generic stuff like more damage, which never really interests me in anything. I definitely like when I can have, cool builds and stuff like that, and it's just like not possible in this game, unfortunately. So I'm going to make a couple attempts here to get the bow staff with no damage multipliers used or anything.
Welcome to our humble inn.
Even though damage multipliers make this game a lot better, I thought I'd show, like, the gear that I made actually does make a difference. You can't really take anything in this game either, so that limits a lot of your options as well. Normally in games like this, you can make like a tank build and then have someone else kind of pull the weight with damage and things like that, but you can't do that here. You're pretty much always a glass cannon. It's another reason why everybody pretty much, from what I saw, I don't think this game had much of a community. Everybody pretty much just rolled straight damage. I think it is kind of interesting how you're, like, pretty much always forced to dodge attacks in this game. You can't really tank anything, at least if you're doing the harder content. But that also kind of goes against this being a Musou game with RPG elements. So people are expecting to feel powerful, and when you have to put in a ton of effort and you're still struggling with things, even at level 99, I think that the game has kind of failed as a game with heavy progression elements. Neo wasn't really my kind of game at the end of the day, but you could make some interesting builds there. And that definitely kept me playing through all the things I didn't like about it. actually going quite a bit faster now. I will say one thing about Neo, as much as it frustrated me, there actually were a nice amount of builds you could make in that game. And hopefully the second one will have even more available, more options. Here in this game, it's pretty much either you just stack damage or you may as well not be equipping anything at all. Which isn't terribly interesting. I mean, there are a lot of people who just want to one-shot everything. But I definitely like, you know, when you can specialize in certain things or the moves can change, you can have like builds around that. That kind of stuff really gets me interested. That's what's cool about closers. I haven't really been playing that game much, but you can actually specialize in certain moves in that game. So even though everybody has the same moveset, certain players will specialize in different ones.
Hold on to your hats.
I like the counter mechanic in this game. I think it's one of the coolest ways to deal with having enemies that don't stagger to anything that I've seen in a while, but unfortunately it's only tied to a couple characters in the game. It's not as robust as it should be. A lot of the other characters feel more stiff because they either have far more recovery on their dodge or they don't have that counter-attack mechanic. So I'm 0 for 2 right now. I haven't gotten a single would-be weapon drop. At least now that I did the cheating to get the good accessories, the game is actually a lot more satisfying to play, and it's still challenging because I don't have any defense or anything like that. The enemies don't take 10 years to die.
Hold on to your hats.
Poor Carver. He's definitely pulling his weight too. He's doing pretty good damage. Says a lot that I had to use cheat engine for like an hour trying to set this up, and the enemies still have a ton of health.
Told you I was top of the class.
I can't imagine like playing this legitimately and trying to get all this stuff and then still getting one shot by the hardest bosses. I feel like that's not the way it should be. It's good that the game is still a challenge and you can't trivialize everything, but I feel like you should feel a little bit more powerful by that point. Especially considering how much RNG there is in this game and how many layers of RNG there are. I think those are all for the
Be lucky.
those are all for the DLC, like, hidden characters. So basically, I used Cheat Engine to get a bunch of these because they're all completely random. And it's also a massive grind to upgrade them. That's one of the biggest complaints that guy mentioned in that thread he made on GameFAQs, was that it's just a massive grind to max out even a single accessory, and the problem is a lot of them just aren't good. When you only have 3 slots, you're not really going to take something that just makes it so you have a smaller chance of getting affected by a status ailment. In this game, damage is pretty much everything. Damage and healing. So when you have a bunch of accessories that do basically nothing, like, what is the point of grinding?
Do come again.
So hopefully, as far as I know, this game actually sold quite well. Hopefully they'll listen to the feedback.
Welcome to our humble inn.
Make the progression a little bit more rewarding, make the enemies not so tanky. I think both of those things would actually improve the experience overall. You know, if I didn't have to cheat to give myself good accessories so the bosses don't take 10 minutes to die, then I would have been more inclined to keep playing legitimately, but that's not really a thing in this game. See, like, that actually felt like a satisfying punish because I countered him and then went straight to the Uber Flying Fist, and it took off like a good 20% of his health.
Hold on to your hats. Gigagush! Coming over. Look at him.
Now that I'm actually doing decent damage, I don't mind fighting him legitimately. It's just I shouldn't have had to use Cheat Engine to grind up accessories or use a damage multiplier to make the bosses not so frustrating.
I'm just getting started.
You know, when a boss only has like 3 or 4 moves, but the game is balanced in a way that you can never really do significant damage, at least not without tons of grinding, that's always kind of a boring combat mechanic to me. I like when I can land like a big punish in a game and feel satisfied for it. I think that's one thing Fight Rage does really well. Oh, that's actually quite good for him. I can't complain about that. Now he'll actually do some damage.
Be lucky.
Still not the bow staff though. So let's go ahead and give him that. So he's looking pretty good now. Basically just have him set up as a buff guy. It doesn't really matter that he doesn't do any damage. But now he's going to be able to tank quite a bit. I actually used Cheat Engine to get past the raid boss because apparently it's like borderline impossible unless you've done like literally everything in the game and you have like the most optimized equipment possible, which is not the way it should be. A lot of the problem is the AI just simply can't handle those missions. It's not like stuff like Dragon's Crown, you know, the AI in that game could actually hold its own for the majority of the content. I say when you start getting towards like the final part of the end game that it definitely was better to have actual people, but they definitely held their own a lot longer than these guys do. Now, basically the only ones that aren't like completely suicidal is basically just Carver and the healers. Like, they actually are pretty good at dodging attacks. They at least had the foresight to program them to dodge when there's going to be like a big AoE or gimmick attack. And I appreciate that much, but in terms of an actual fight, they're pretty dumb and they do no damage. But now everybody's got pretty damn good gear so far, so let's go ahead and do one more for good measure. And I guess that'll be it for today. With how bad these drop rates are, I may continue to put on the one-hit kill cheat, but I would like to play this again with the bow staff. Especially since my martial artist is still pretty underleveled, so it may actually still be a challenge. I don't know, in this game it's like not even seeing the bigger numbers, it's just feeling like you're actually doing more than a pixel of health every time you hit them. That's what makes it feel more satisfying. I can't imagine playing this for like 180, 200 hours, maxing everything out, still getting two-shot. That just seems incredibly demoralizing to me. So hopefully they'll find a better balance in the next game, but I think New Game Plus in this might actually be quite fun. Because you could basically just forego a lot of the grinding and just kind of play how you want. You kind of forced into like one class unless you want to do a ton of grinding to finish this game. I really only played the I played the warrior up until the martial artist because you can't change classes until you're a couple hours in, and then I went for the martial artist to the gladiator, and then I never even bothered with any of the other classes. So I plan to play as the martial artist maybe the whole way through if I can with the bow staff, if I like that moveset. But it needs to drop the damn thing first, so maybe I'll stream some resets trying to get it to drop, and then maybe sometime next month I might look into doing that. There's a couple things happening at the end of this month. Obviously there's Gunvolt today, which I'm not sure how long I will be playing that. It doesn't seem like it has as much content as some of the other ones, some streams I watched today. Then there will be a Marvel Ultimate Alliance update on the 30th, so I'll probably check that out as well, because I paid for the season pass for that like months ago. And then October is pretty much just looking like I may play Indivisible, and there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot else coming out besides like maybe some random Ninja Indie Games reports. Besides, Dust Diver is going to be getting a full release, I believe, on the 18th. So besides that, I won't really be playing much of anything, so I'm kind of just trying to do some prep time, you know, cheat engine withstanding, and trying to maybe make a bow staff playthrough for some extra filler content next month. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.